Hey guys, new episode. Today we're going to be talking about subwoofers. Generally speaking, you're going to integrate a subwoofer either into your stereo system or your home theater setup. Stereo systems, generally the purest way to approach integrating into a stereo system would be one sub per channel of music, which obviously isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea. But that would be the purest way to sort of approach that. Generally speaking, you would want to avoid adding a subwoofer to a stereo setup. So you want to pick up a set of speakers that delivers adequate bass. Obviously, when it comes to home theater, the subwoofer can make or break a good system because the sub is going to provide, all that rumble when there's an explosion, when there's, high dynamic scenes or, heavy sort of action going on in the movie. Setting up bass for home theaters is along the lines of setting up lighting for a room. You could obviously go with one single big bulb, but a lot of the time you want diffuse lighting. So when you're looking at home theater, sometimes it makes sense to focus on multiple smaller subs rather than a single giant sub. This gives you an even spread of bass as opposed to having a single sub and knowing exactly where your sort of bass frequencies are coming from. I'm going to recommend a series of products today, starting obviously at the lower end, going up to a lakh of rupees. And I will share tidbits on why that sub makes sense for that particular price point, as well as what are the best sort of applications for that particular sub. With that being said, let's get into it. So at number one, I'm going to recommend the JBL A100P, which is a standard 10-inch rear firing sub. You should get it for under 30K under most conditions. A great value for money sub. Not the tightest bass in the world. If you need a sub that delivers sort of above average performance at a sub 30K price point, I can't think of anything else besides the JBL. Pairs well for both home theater as well as stereo systems, and would be my general recommendation for someone looking for their first sort of sub purchase. At number two, we have the REL T-Zero, which is a 6.5-inch downward firing sub. REL subs are, in my opinion, sort of the Rolls Royce of subwoofers. This particular sub, the T-Zero, is the smallest one that they have at 6.5 inches, which is not a lot in the general scheme of things. This will work well in a small room, and this is specifically made for guys who are looking to integrate something into a stereo system. It's going to deliver tight bass that will work perfectly with sort of a stereo system. If you're the sort of person who has a bigger room, then I would look at the bigger brothers, both the T5, the T7, and the T10. Priced at about 50K MRP, which means you should get it for about 45K after discounts. If you have a stereo system in a small room and need to add sort of outstanding quality of bass, I would not look past anything besides the REL T-Zero. Next, we have my recommendation for sort of quintessential home theater sub, which is the Q-Acoustics QB12. 12-inch monster sub, delivers incredible amounts of bass for relatively nothing in terms of overall spend. You should be able to get one for about between 65 and 70K. It is by far the best value for money sort of power sub out there. I've personally used one for many years. Delivers outstanding quality as well as quantity of sort of low frequency. The only potential drawback that I saw is that, depending on the room, it sometimes can get a little out of control. So it does require a little bit of patience. You'll have to sort of, mess around with positioning, etc., to really get the most out of it. But if you're looking to set up a home theater, you've got a relatively large room, or you're just a bass head, I would not look past anything but besides the QB12. Next, we have the SVS, SB, or PB 1000, depending on the variation that you need. These should sell anywhere from, say 95 to maybe 1,15,000, which I realize sort of goes over the designated price point. However, the sub is exceptional. Again, provides an incredible amount of quantity of bass as well as giving you fairly tight quality bass. The only drawback that I can see with the SVS is that, considering what they sell for in America, they are generally speaking overpriced in India. So if you're looking for value for money, they don't quite deliver the value that I would expect from a product like this. I think that they work well with home theater. If I was looking to pair up a sub with a stereo system, I'd still look at the RELs. I think in terms of quality of bass, there's really nothing much that can touch the RELs. So in a nutshell, if you're looking for a home theater sub, if you've got a little extra cash to spend, if you really need sort of outright sort of crazy performance in terms of home theater feedback, I look at either models of the SVS 1000. At number 5, I'm going to recommend the Sonos Sub. Now, I do need to make it very clear that unfortunately the Sonos Sub is not compatible with anything besides Sonos. It is an exceptional subwoofer. However, in order to get it to work, you're going to have to pair it up with an Arc or a Beam or any of the Sonos products that Sonos happens to sell. So if you're looking for a home theater setup, you don't have a lot of space, you're not big on wires, I would look at either the Arc or the Beam and pair it up with the Sonos Sub, which provides exceptional sort of sub performance at the level of both SVS as well as in some cases even the REL. So those were my 5 recommendations. I'll now condense them into sort of 3 explicit recommendations for 3 separate applications. If you need a budget sub for either music or movies, I'd go in for the JBL A100P. I don't think there's anything in the market at that price point that can deliver that semblance of performance. I think if you need subs for a stereo setup, I'd look past nothing besides the REL. So whether that's the T-Zero for a small room or a T5, 7 or 9 for larger rooms. If you need a subwoofer to provide outstanding bass for a home theater setup, I would look into the QB12. I think that it provides sort of unmatched performance at that price point. Things to remember while picking up your first sub: invest in good isolation. So that means if it comes with spikes, make sure that they're set up properly. If they don't, invest in separate isolation. Q-Acoustics and a bunch of other companies out there make some very sort of relatively affordable isolation platforms for subwoofers. Makes a huge difference. Trust me, you'll really find the investment worth the time and money, obviously. Everything that I've spoken about again today can be found in links in the description below. We've got a primer on subwoofers, the different types of subwoofers, rear ported, front ported, sealed, unsealed, things like that. So you've obviously got a lot of literature to go through. I look forward to hearing back from you guys. If you guys have comments or suggestions, again, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I hope to see you guys again very, very soon.